Revolutionary greetings, what it do? Your boy Haki, Kweli, Shakur, checking back in from the New African Population District of Richmond, Virginia. Gabriel Prosser land, man. Virginia, period. Land of the rebellion. So I'm coming at you today, man, because I want to talk about three specific New African slave rebellions that I came across, man. That is very important that I want people to know, because we've seen a lot of activity taking place in the month of May in Virginia. Amongst our ancestors, New African resistant freedom fighters against the capitalist white supremacist system of slavery. And this month is known as May Day overall to the left. So it's very interesting. You know what I'm saying? I think this is very important to speak upon these slave resistance and these slave rebellions that took place in this month. A lot of activity that I done came across. So let me get right into it real quick, man. May 17th, 1723, 7 enslaved political prisoners were sentenced to cell removal from the Virginia colony for conspiring to revolt. This took place at the Traeger Iron Works. This place is historic for in the Civil War, but also it's located in Shakur Bottom, near Shakur Bottom. You know what I'm saying? And so our ancestors were enslaved on this land and was working for the industrial ironworks. And matter of fact, Traeger Ironworks is one of the main first, industrialized industries of Virginia and the South period. They made a lot of money off our ancestors there. So shout out to those ancestors that resisted on that day, May 17, 1723. I think it was just I don't know what happened to the leaders of this rebellion, but all I know is that a lot of them got sold and removed from Virginia, and that took place in a lot of places across the South when our ancestors resisted. Moving right along, man, to the second one, May 17th, 92. This don't have a specific date, but it happened in May though. This is the conspiracy of 900 enslaved political prisoners, New Africans who coordinated a revolt across multiple cities with plans to attack the city of Norfolk, Virginia. It didn't pop off because the slave plantations owners intercepted a letter and they found out about the conspiracy, so they quelled that rebellion back down. But this is one of the largest coordinated and strategic plotted slave rebellions in the history of slave rebellions, man. 900 armed New Africans was ready to smash the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and end the capitalist system of slavery. And why did they rebel? Why was Norfolk so important? I believe Norfolk was so important because it was a port. So we know our ancestors were being sold and bought and shipped in from that area. So that makes it a key area to take over, you know what I'm saying, and get their demands met. So it also resources. So I think this was going to was an attack that was planned to attack the resources of the capitalists of Norfolk, Virginia, and Virginia period, the colonialists and the slave plantation owners and the whole system, the oligarchs of that time. So you know what I'm saying. So it's like I believe Norfolk was a strategic, important area to take over, and also the neighbors trying to get back to Africa, because this is a port where ships are and where ships are today, which is the United States Army. Norfolk is a main naval place today, so they probably was trying to take ships and get back home, or they was going to take over this area to implement and demand an independent, free New African nation right here in Virginia or in the South. So go do your research on that. May 17th, not May 17th, May 17th, 92. The conspiracy of Norfolk, 900 armed New Africans, man. Last but not least, man, May 1863. We had New Africans who slave revolted at Traeger Ironworks in Richmond, Virginia. The leaders were eventually punished. And Traeger Ironworks is a main place that's located, that took place in a time of the Civil War. So this was a real strategic area also, and this area is also located near Shakur Bottom. And we know this is where the domestic slave trade main port was, Shakur Bottom. So it's very interesting that they planned the slave where they actually carried out the revolt at Traeger Ironworks. And this is very important because this is what the main industrial industry of Richmond, Virginia, Virginia period, at this time period. This is where a lot of your industries come from today. So I believe that they were trying to attack this to also take control of the resources and get their demands met. So shout out to those New Africans who resisted at Traeger Ironworks in Richmond, Virginia in May 1863. And I say that to say this, man. We must study this time and period of our ancestors who resisted, because we're still in the same struggle as today. We're still fighting the same white supremacist, aka capitalist system today. So the $1 million question: why are we still trying to fight to fit in to a system in a country that our ancestors fought against to get away from, to go back home, or to set up an independent new African nation right here in the South? Tell me, why are we still repeating the same cycle decades later of trying to fit in? Well, I ain't talking about all of us, but you know what I'm talking about. To fit in to a system in a place, in a country that our ancestors were trying to get away from. Think about that. And trust me, it was more ancestors who were trying to get away from the United States government than to fit into the United States government. You see what I'm saying? So think about that, man. I'm going to sign off right here, man. Haki, Kweli, Shakur, New African Population District of Richmond, Virginia, Minister of Information, August 3rd Collective, New African People's Liberation Army. Free all political prisoners, man. Free the land.